So welcome to this memorial for Ray Haley. He was my friend, and I still hold him responsible for all that's going wrong here today. Ray was a man who always made it difficult, and he found a way to do so. But we're going to do some end arounds, and I mean seriously end arounds here. Just want you to know that we're trying to honor the family's requests in this memorial service. And so later on, when you see the Irish Blessing coming up by Celtic Thunder, I'm actually going to ask you to turn your phones on and do a search for it. And then we'll play it together. And that way we do an end around of these technical problems and let technology solve them. Maybe. I have been asked to read some opening words, and I'd like to take your attention to some of these words that are quite special to many of us for many reasons. The first passage I've been asked to read is from David's shepherd's psalm, Psalm 23. David writes, and he says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul and leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod, your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and we will, Ray will, dwell in the house of the Lord forever." And another passage that comes from David's son Solomon is he writes in Ecclesiastes about the balance of life, about the circle of life. Solomon writes and he says, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. There's a time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. There's a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up. There's a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. There's a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away. There's a time to rend and a time to sow. There's a time to keep silent and a time to speak. There's a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war, and there's a time of peace. And so there is in that circle of life, that balance that comes to us here in this place. And I want to share one more thought with you before we move to the next piece of music. And this comes titled A Song of Living, and I believe it acknowledges Ray's life well. Because I have loved life, I shall have no sorrow to die. I have sent up my gladness on wings to be lost in the blue of the sky. I have run and leapt with the rain. I have taken the wind to my breast. My cheeks like a drowsy child to the face of the earth I have pressed. Because I have loved life, I shall have no sorrow to die. I have kissed young love on the lips. I have heard the song to the end. I've struck my hand like a seal in the loyal hand of a friend. I have known the peace of heaven, the comfort of work done well. I have longed for death in the darkness and risen alive out of hell. Because I have loved life, I shall have no sorrow to die. I gave a share of my soul to the world when and where my course is run, and I know that another shall finish the task I must surely leave undone. I know that no flower nor flint was in vain on the path I trod, because I have looked on the face through a window, and through life I have looked on God. Because I have loved life, I shall have no sorrow to die. Thank you. that there will be an opportunity later in the service for those of you that wish to share a memory of Ray. Because we've had some snafus with our microphones, I'd like to invite you to come up here. I know that doesn't sound inviting to you, but I'd like to invite you to come up here so we can see you, hear you well, if that's okay. Bob, if you would, please. Yes, sir.
Can you all hear me? Okay. First of all, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm so glad and so pleased and honored to have this opportunity to share a few words with you today regarding my brother Ray. But before I do, let me first acknowledge and thank from the bottom of my heart those of you amongst us who are members of the congregation. You made this possible today. You took Ray to your bosom when he needed it most. You created a singer, which I had no idea was even possible. Who knew that was even possible? But more importantly, you brought him joy. And for that, our family will be grateful forever. My brother Jack and my sister-in-law, Marilyn, were not able to be present today physically. But last week, as I was preparing these remarks, Marilyn texted the following to me. Ray was a very special person. He was a wonderful husband, father, and grandfather. That's my buddy. There he is. Okay. Who enjoyed life. He survived many medical issues, which made him, to some degree, stronger in dealing with them. Ray, you are missed, remembered, and will never be forgotten. Rest in peace. Just lovely, Marilyn. Thank you so much. And while talking with Jack last week, my older brother, we reminisced about our lives together, growing up, and how the three of us got on well and had fun, oftentimes sharing a game of basketball. It was on one of these occasions, when I was about 12 years old, and Ray was 16, that we were playing a game of three-man basketball. Our opponents were in their 20s, possibly 30s. Rugged, tough sort of guys. In the course of the game, I stole the ball from one of these fellows. More than once. I guess he was embarrassed, and he started to push me around. But Ray came to my assistance immediately, and the bullying ended right then and there. So, that's who Ray was. Oh, and by the way, we won that game. Speaking of basketball, as a freshman in high school, Ray made the junior varsity team, and certainly probably would have made the varsity as well. But due to his health issues, his doctor suggested to my parents that he not play competitively. He was disappointed, undoubtedly, but he soon shifted his focus to academic pursuits, and he graduated from high school with high marks. He went on to graduate from St. Peter's College in New Jersey, and from New York University, he got his master's degree. And his achievements inspired not just me, but also my best friend, Louis LaRocca. Kathy, you may remember him from our wedding, who sought Ray's advice regarding college choices. Lou followed Ray to St. Peter's for his bachelor's degree, and later he went on to Marquette University out in Wisconsin for his master's degree. Ray made a difference, not just in the family, but outside the family, in very personal ways. In these past few years, I've been blessed with the opportunity to visit with Kathy, Ray, Patrick, Amy, Joe, Daniel, and it was a privilege to have been with you. It was a privilege to have been with you and to have been able to lend a hand. My heart is full today with these thoughts. Kathy, you were a wonderful life partner for Ray. Together, you brought two wonderful people into this world. And by the way, how about Daniel over here? The pride of us all. Musician, spelling bee champion. Your grandfather loved you and was extraordinarily proud of you. God bless and keep you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thomas McCarthy, if you would please step up here.
Good morning to you all. I have some personal memories of Ray, kind of the middle years, so to speak. Bob hit on the early years of growing up with him. So I'd like to just give you a few memories that I have. I've jotted down some talking points, but I wanted to speak extemporaneously from the heart, from the various experiences I had with Ray over the years. I'll start with the time that Lynn and I were going together, and we were at her parental home, and Bob and his family lived right next door. And I remember meeting Ray and Kathy for the first time, and Lynn and I suggested that if they weren't doing anything, let's go out and have dinner. And you know, Ray, in the later years, that was one of his favorite things to do, to go out and have a nice meal, as he himself had become a very good chef even at home, and taking food around to various occasions and so on. So that's how we first got together. And then, of course, after we got engaged, soon after Ray and Kathy got engaged, and they had a beautiful wedding. I believe it was the Riviera, yes, and that was, it seemed almost like just maybe a few months ago. It's hard to believe how many years have passed, really. And then after that, I remember we visited him in White Plains. They had an apartment there. Ray was working with the state in Bureau of Labor. And he also later on took on a responsibility to work with people who had alcoholism problems, which he enjoyed very much, being a counselor there. We had wonderful times. When we got together, we always had a lot of fun, wonderful food, and conviviality that was really hard to express. And keeping with that theme, we then, at the later stage, they bought a lovely home in Wappinger Falls, which we helped move him into, him and Kathy, and my son Jim and I gave him a hand with some of the moving, and we enjoyed that very much, and we had great times over there. And then they up and moved again, I guess because of changing of Ray's job into another location, and they went to Pine Bush, Great Pine Bush. And that was the beginning of a truly close relationship, as we were only 1 hour away from them at Greenwood Lake, between New York and New Jersey area, and we could go right up 17 and get to see them. And again, we had every occasion, we had so many wonderful times together. in front of our fireplace, in front of their fireplace, at Christmas, and Thanksgiving, all the major holidays and birthdays, graduations. It was really a wonderful time. And then he moved down to this lovely area. And he, again, met all of you wonderful people that he talked always so much about. His beginning of his musical career down here, and the conviviality and friendship you showed to him was really wonderful. And I'm sure that the family is very grateful for that. I will always miss him. And may he go in love and the peace of the Lord, and with all who loved and cherished him. Amen.
Thank you, Tom. Matthew Jacobson. Yes, if you would, please.
I wrote this when I received the news of Ray's passing. I was at work and I was walking along the shore of the Hudson River, and it was a place that Ray liked the water, so I thought it was quite fitting. You'll have to forgive me, I'm not a public speaker, but I'll try my best. I first met Ray in Wampler Falls. My parents moved in that house, I'd say about 1982. Became fast friends with their son Patrick and Amy. My early memories of Ray would be him in the kitchen preparing a meal, medley of vegetables and all the accoutrements. Then when they moved to Pine Bush, Sundays were a time that everyone would gather. See Len and Tom, and Patrick and Amy. Excuse me. And Ray and I would talk for many hours, right? You know, it was a fantastic affair. He prepared different meals for the holidays. You know, I was fortunate enough to get to speak to Ray, and he's helped me in many different ways. Always a guiding. He always gave me a guiding hand in various things. He had helped many people, and it's with that I'll cherish that, and I'll continue his legacy on how he provided service to others above himself. One which emphasized service, helping others, his dedication to managing his health. He had such a dedication to that. Like Bob said, it made him stronger. I was fortunate enough to share in many life events with the family. I think his passing has left a void in all our lives. I can say mine. I mean, how do you sum up someone in a short speech? I think Ray really was a dedicated father, co-worker, solid provider to the family, a good friend, a well-around, likable guy who loved entertaining people at their home. He made it very welcoming to people that entered his home. I think he enjoyed providing a welcoming place in his home. So his passing is relieve an emptiness and grief, but I think his memory will live on forever with me and us. I know it will with me. I believe his memory will be a blessing to us, and God's perpetual light is shining on him, and his wisdom is guiding me presently and always.
Thank you, Matthew. John will be bringing us a musical piece, and afterwards, those of you that would like to share, you'll be invited to come up. John, if you would. I'm suspicious that there's more Ray stories in the room. Who'd like to bring a memory or a tribute? If you would, please. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. I just want to begin by saying, I've known Kathy and Ray for a little over 11 years. My husband and I met them when we moved into our home at Hampton Lake, and we became very good friends. And Ray, I can tell you, he was one of a kind. He was kind, gentle, caring, very reserved man at times. But once you started a conversation with Ray, it went on like the ever-ready battery. Okay? But I enjoyed his company. My husband, Roy, Holly, who is now deceased for approximately, 17 months, loved him very much. They had many, many conversations together. And if you knew Roy and Ray were sort of very similar in personalities. They were very reserved. But Ray was more outgoing, where Roy was a little more inward, I guess I could say. But him and Roy used to really butt heads at times, in a good way, in a very good way. We shared many dinners together at each other's homes, Christmas, Easter, just dinners, just on occasion, we'd call and say, come on over for dinner, and vice versa. We also spent many times during the holidays where we would attend the Christmas concerts together, and we all enjoyed that so much. I really miss Ray, and I will continue. He wanted me to join the Hilton Head Choral Society, which I'm thinking of. I think now maybe I possibly could be ready to begin that venture. Other than that, he will be very well missed, and he will never be forgotten in my heart. And I do have a song in my heart for Ray in time when I'm able to express that. Thank you so much.
Are there any others? While you're thinking, let me ask you to think on this, is that every time you tell a Ray Haley story, Ray Haley lives. So while you may be uncomfortable speaking publicly, and that's okay, call Kathy and tell him a story. Send her an email, send her a text, tell Ray stories, because every time you do, he lives in front of her, and there's no more powerful story than that, right? So if you will look in the back of your Ray, excuse me, David, are you coming back?
Sure.
I'm so sorry.
I am not uncomfortable speaking in public. So this is the audience participation portion of the service. When Ray first started coming to this congregation here, he would show up. We'd have folks that would gather around this piano here and we would sing hymns, and he would join in on the hymns, and he'd be able to belt it out, and he would join. And it's been my privilege for some time now to kind of head up a little group that we have at this church. We call it the Seven Principles. And we do a variety of music during the service, not every service, but we have guitars and singers, and Kathy and Diana and Marcella and Ellen are in this group, and John's in this group, and so forth. And there's one song that will always stick in my mind when I think of Ray. How many of you remember the Temptations? Couple of, okay, everybody. How many of you remember when the Temptations in the late 60s started doing the psychedelic stuff? And they did things like Ball of Confusion. Do you remember that one? Yeah. People moving out, people moving in. Why? Because of the color of the skin. Run, 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 but you just can't hide. There's one line in that where I don't know what the name of the guy is. Maybe it was Eddie Kendricks or whatever. He comes in and he has his line, and the band played on deep, this deep, deep, deep voice right there. And that was Ray's part. He would come up to the microphone, he would belt it out, and the band played on. So this is your chance as a little tribute to Ray on 3. The band is going to continue playing on, and we all say it. 1, 2, 3. And the band played on. Nice job. Yeah. Thank you very much.
In your bulletin, there's an opportunity. Well, let me stop here for a moment. David just caught me off guard. Are there any others? I didn't want to step in front of anybody. There's an opportunity for a congregational prayer, and that prayer is on the back of your bulletin, with a delightful picture of that golden retriever resting his head on Ray's head. I don't know that there's a better picture in the history of the world and dogness than that. That's really magnificent. But we've been asked that we might be able to say this prayer together. And so if you would take that prayer in your hand, and I will lead you in that. May we now? We bless you on your journey. We honor and celebrate the life that has been yours, the lives you've touched, the legacy you leave. We release old wounds and regrets. We forgive and are forgiven. We cherish the life we share, the life that is larger than us. Out of mystery we are born, and mystery receives us when we die. With sorrow and gratitude for all that has been, we bless you on your journey. Amen. And now, should the technology be working, you would be listening to Celtic Thunder and the Irish Blessing. However, we've been asked to find that on your phone. Those of you that want to do so, I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and then I'm going to push play so that we can all sort of finish at the same time. How's that sound? There are not many churches you'll go to that you will hear said, take your phones out. Celtic Thunder.
It's on,
Irish Blessing.
it's on YouTube if you can't find it.
It's on YouTube. I'll wait a few more seconds.
Celtic Thunder.
And if we're ready, press play. there are some closing thoughts that I wish to bring to our attention. And then I'm going to ask Daniel, as a matter of fact, Daniel, if you would please come on up and sit here for a moment so that you can extinguish the flame. In your bulletin, there's a poem, if you will, called The Dash, talking with Kathy earlier, and she asked that I read this as a closing thought, one of the closing thoughts. This is very powerful and it gives us insights. Linda Ellis writes, I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between the years. For that dash represents all the time that they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real and always try and understand the way that others feel. Be less quick to anger or show more appreciation and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? I know everybody in this room is proud of the way that Ray Haley spent his dash and celebrated it with him. There is a piece that I find quite moving, and it seems to remind me of Ray and how he chose to live and love. And so I'll offer this to you before we extinguish the chalice. I sing the will to love, the will that carves the will to live, the will that saps the will to hurt, the will that kills the will to die, the will that made and keeps you warm, the will that points your eyes ahead, the will that makes you give, not get, a give and get that tells us what you are, how much a God, how much a human. I call on you to live the will to love. And that is Ray Haley. Daniel, if you would please. I will read the close. Go ahead. While we extinguish this flame, we still carry in our hearts the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment until we are together again. Thank you. There's food out in the lobby, and we look forward to spending time with you. Thank you so much.